Hey everyone, it's Frugal Panda here. Let's go for a bike ride. This is Seattle, Washington. This is near the Burke Gilman Trail. I was riding all over. Before we get started, or as we're getting started, what I'm riding is an Lectric XP 3.0. I would go a total of about 40 miles on this e-bike during this ride. And it's the long range battery. Maybe I went 50 miles, 40 to 50. It was something like that. I have the long range battery in it to start out, but that is not, I have actually two batteries. So I have the one that's 14 AH, I believe it is, which is the long range, and the 10 MAH, just a regular Lectric XP battery. How much did I pay for my second battery? Because I didn't get the deal where, they'll give you a second battery and all that they run every once in a while. I just went on eBay and found a guy who was selling legit batteries, probably out of wrecked ones or something, and he guaranteed they'd have at least 90% charge. So I paid about, I think it was 150 or so dollars for a used battery, and I've used this battery multiple times on this road trip that I did. This is October time frame. I thought I lost this footage. It was corrupt or something. And then I found it that I had taken with my GoPro. I was so happy because this is one of the parts of my trip that I really enjoyed. If you watched some of my videos, you'd know that I was sick during this trip. I started getting sick around right after I left Eureka, I think it was. But honestly, I was like, you know what? Nope, I'm not going to let this ruin my trip. It did impact certain places I wanted to go. I just didn't have the motivation to go to them. But I said I'll be sure I'm going to take my e-bike out and I'm going to go for a ride. And I sure did. I went to these areas and took some medication and got on my bike and rode. And it wasn't just the medication that made me feel better. Honestly, once I was riding around. So what I'm right now doing is I'm searching for the Fremont Troll. I've been there once with my family. We drove and stopped there, and I wanted to ride there, and I found it anyway. So I found it, but after that I was going to look for some cool trails, and I didn't do any real research. I just randomly ran into, I think it was the Burke Gilman Trail. I ran into that one. Basically, it's the trail that starts, it goes through Gasworks Park and ends up, you get to ride along like University of Washington and everything. But after I did that, oh man, I started feeling better. And like I said, it wasn't just the medication, it was just the environment. So after I would get done here riding my bike, when like I said, I rode 40 to 50 miles, I would throw my bike in the car and I would go for a walk. And that video was already out of me walking around in downtown Seattle, closer to the piers. And I was inundated with so many homeless people all over down in there this time. It was really bad. Now, the trail, though, I'm on, so all these trails I'm riding, the homeless population is pretty absent from them where I was at. I can't say for everything, but where I rode, and I'm pretty much sure that around University of Washington, they need to protect the students and the people that walk in that area, so they probably clear them out quite a bit. But they weren't there. They were in downtown Seattle, though, the homeless folks, but I didn't see hardly any, and I'm trying to think. There was nothing that stood out on the trails actually when I was riding. While I was riding here, I don't have a picture of it, but I saw another dude sitting here. He was sitting down having lunch, and he had an Lectric XP. You don't see a lot of Lectric XPs as much up here because this is rad power territory, and I like rad power. I'm not knocking them or anything. I think they make good bikes as well. I like the quality of their bikes, and I still haven't put out this video, this review of it, but we got an a rad power, what is it, the Rad 6, I think it is, or whatever it is, Rad Rover 6 or whatever it is. So, and that's a pretty cool bike. I really like it. So I'm riding. This is going to be a very long video. So let me just explain. So I made it to Seattle. Like I said, I hadn't been feeling well, but I was like, nope, we're going to do some stuff in Seattle. I did so much this day. I would end up doing this long bike ride. I would end up going, I would get lunch while I'm riding my bike, stop and get lunch. But then later on, I would go into downtown Seattle and cut a little bit of a video walking around and doing all this stuff. What I really had planned to do was maybe spend a day in Seattle and take off to hop on the ferries and take off somewhere else like Anna Cortez, Bremerton. I wanted to kind of explore Bremerton a little further, and I can't think of the name of it, but there's a couple other towns that the ferries went to I wanted to check out a little bit more too, and throw the car on there and do it. I carried all this stuff in a 2023 Nissan Kicks, which is my son's. He's just turning six. Well, he is 16, but he's actually about to be able to drive on his own. And when we bought it, we really bought it for him. But I've driven this car across the country or to the Pacific Ocean twice already from Colorado, and it's a little rock star. My issue with that little car for me is it kind of wears me out on the long trips. The seats kind of suck for me. That's for me. That's not for everybody. So, but beyond that, I took out the back seat and where it just, I think it folded down. No, I took out both parts of the seat. So it had no back seat for this whole trip. It had so much room in it. So I carried my e-bike. I carried an electric scooter with me, and all my stuff that I took, my bags and, clothing and stuff, and had so much room. The car had a lot of room once I yanked that back seat out of it. And it worked well, and it got good gas mileage. I got about 34, 35 miles to the gallon the whole way. No issues with it. And it fit in. It's a perfect city car. Now on the highway, a little bit the wind caught it a couple times and blew it around when I was coming through Wyoming and stuff. But beyond that, it was cool. But we're riding around right now, and I'm just amazed. And it smells so good out here, by the way. By the water and everything like that. I was so glad that I did this. So I rode my bike, went around. I'm just riding. I don't even know where I'm going. But I also I'm a little more confident. So I'm a little more confident because, well, I have a second battery. It's not a long range like the others, just a regular Lectric XP battery, which I've had in my other bikes too, my old Lectric 1.0 and stuff like that. But I know I have at least a guaranteed another 20 or 30 miles. Am I riding conservative? Absolutely not. I don't think I'm not riding at level 5 because I don't want to look like a madman, especially when I start hitting the trails. So I'm not kicking it up to like level 5 and all that stuff and hitting like 28 miles an hour and stuff because there's people around and stuff like that. But I'm guaranteed I'm riding in 3, and probably sometimes on the hills I am bumping up to 4 and 5. One thing I do always, which helps me out because I'm 6 foot tall, 210 or so pounds, and actually I weigh more than that because I'm carrying with me. I have a backpack with a second battery on my back, and of course wearing clothes and whatever little snacks and water. So say with everything, I'm probably weighing in at about 230 pounds. Let's say that on the higher side with all the stuff I'm carrying. So, but anyway, what I was saying is, so going up hills, I may be using 4 and 5 if the hill's pretty steep. But one thing I always usually do 99% of the time is I don't use the throttle. I'm pedaling. I'm using pedal assist, yes, but I'm pedaling because I watch people sometimes on e-bikes, and it's a lot of times it's young people. They won't be pedaling. They'll just be using the throttle and riding it around just basically like a scooter or something. I don't know where I'm going, so I have to be a little conservative to a certain extent in that I can't be doing it. And also, I am trying to get somewhat of a workout out of this. Someone was telling me, oh, you don't get a workout on one. Yes, you do. It's already been proven. The negative Nancy's, they want to get on and try and tell you what you do and you don't get on something, and they don't know nothing about nothing. I rode about 40 to 50 miles. I got some workout in it, and there's some parts I was tired, but I wasn't trying to get the workout like I've had before in the past when I'd have one battery and I ran out, say like when I was in Albuquerque, and it was 100 degrees out and I ran out of battery. And I had to pedal for like, oh man, it felt like I did 20 miles, but it was like 3 or 4 miles. And you're talking a bike that weighs around 80 pounds. You're trying, and you're going up a slight incline the whole time in 100 and plus degree weather. Oh, it was torture. And I was getting low on water. I was like, man, I might have to call an ambulance to come get me. I started thinking like maybe I should just pull over and get a lift. Get back to my car. No, but I didn't though. But anyway, I don't want to be in that because that began as a very fun trail to ride the Rio Grande. We're along the Rio Grande in Albuquerque, and then it turned into total torture because I wasn't conservative enough on the battery. So this time I had the secondary battery. All is well. Truth be told, how much I rode and everything, I didn't have to change the battery until like later on. I mean, it took a long time for me to even get to the point where I needed to change the battery. And I'm gonna try and start getting to the point where I'm not running batteries down to they're dead and then switching them out. I just don't want to do that. So I'm gonna try not to do that anymore. But I've done it like twice. And it's kind of funny. I used to not do that, you know. I really didn't. I never would run out of battery. And it's not that I have bad batteries or anything. It's just I'm riding a lot farther than I used to. I used to think I was riding far when I'd ride like 15 miles. No, I'm riding like, 40 miles. This trail's like I think 27 miles. But as you can see, I'm not just riding the trail. I'm riding in the cities. I'm probably at this point, if I haven't, it hasn't already shown in the video, I'm probably starting to look for a place to eat for lunch before I explore anymore. So I was so thankful I didn't lose this footage because this is one of the highlights of my trip. My first highlight was that stop, a bookmark basically, when I went to Zephyr Cove by Lake Tahoe, and I realized how amazing Lake Tahoe was and that area around it, that it's a place I want to come back to. So I bookmarked that in my head for another time, for another trip. And also going through the interior of Northern California, above San Francisco, going through Redding, going through Susanville, hitting Eureka and Arcade and all that. Um, you know, California's an interesting state. It's beautiful. It's a headache too, though. It's got a lot of issues, and I'm not talking about the people. You get out of the cities, people that live out of those huge cities, they're just regular folks, man. They're very diverse. They have their own views, politics or whatever. They're not cookie cutter. They're not stuck in some one neighborhood. They live out. They live in little smaller towns. So going to those places, I really like the slower pace of life. I love the water. And it with the beauty, all the huge trees, and it was green. So that was definitely a highlight. And for my Washington trip, this was the highest, the part where I'm not feeling very well at all. And this ride and going through here really picked me up, and I felt a lot better until later on. Then I was like, okay, I gotta go back home. I mean, go back to the hotel. But this right here, I was good. So I'm looking for somewhere to eat. I had planned to take my e-bike to Tacoma as well and ride around there. Actually, it wasn't even Tacoma. I didn't really plan to go to Tacoma this time. This is not a knock on Tacoma. I like it, but I wanted to explore some more places. But I also had to stop in Seattle because my plan was, if I had been feeling well, was to catch that ferry and go somewhere. I had couple different ideas. One was to catch a ferry and take my car. The other was to leave my car, take my e-bike with my spare battery, and take my charger just in case I needed it for some, and go and do that as well, and just take the e-bike with me and just explore. So it was a toss up, but ultimately in the end I just didn't have the motivation, and I didn't do either this time. But riding around here, this is October in Seattle, and it's beautiful. It is really beautiful. Around the time I'm riding around like this, I think the teens are getting out for also lunch. So they're doing lunches. There was a famous place to eat too. They didn't have anywhere to sit. I can't think of the name of it now. But I want to check it out next time I'm in town. But there was tons of kids there, and I just didn't feel like it. So I went to Mr. Gyro's, and I know it's a franchise up there. And the guy was real nice. The food was really good. I literally locked my bike in front of the Mr. Gyro's and went inside, sat in the window staring out, and had me some delicious food. And the price was fair on it too. Um, and what was it with it? I can't think. The food was good, and then I left and kept on riding, and I would ultimately start getting on the trails and riding around those trails and those amazing trails by University of Washington. It made me want to go back to school. I just graduated 2 years ago, but I graduated with like my third advanced degree, so it's a different thing. But it made me want to go back and get a bachelor's and hang out and be able to walk that trail every day to my dorm or wherever. And I'd probably be like, who's the old guy going to the dorms? I don't know. He shouldn't be here or whatever. No, but seriously, it was amazing along that trail. We're just riding. I wasn't concerned about traffic either. Now, here's the only thing I run into when I'm riding on the street. Sometimes I'm not very conservative on the streets, so sometimes I'll try and keep up with traffic a little much and put it in the fifth level 5 and the full amount and waste energy for no reason. It's just, I don't know, I feel like I need to go faster. But that's why I like getting on the trails. I've learned on the trails I keep it in 3, but I've been learning a lot more that I like 2. So there's going to be a video coming out after this of me back in Colorado riding around to downtown Denver, and a lot of that trip I rode in level 2, and it worked out. It was cool. I wasn't a big deal to me. It was relaxed, and I really enjoyed just taking in the views and everything. And also, so when you're working out with one of these, people say, "Oh, you can," some people will chime in. I usually just erase their comment because they don't have nothing of value to add. So the more workout you're going to get with an e-bike is the lower the level. So if I'm at level 5, clearly, yeah, I'm pedaling, but come on now, your burning of calories is going to be pretty low. But when you get to 3, you're getting a little bit more of a workout. You're getting okay. But when you get to 2, 2 is a pretty decent workout. So you put it in 2 and you go up a hill, you're feeling it more. 1, of course, you're going to really feel it. And none, yeah, it's like, like I said, this bike's around 80 pounds. So, riding this bike with an 80-pound bike, with no power is a whole different animal. So it just all depends. My wife, she has the Rad Power, and she first was hesitant. I just bought it randomly for her. If you didn't hear one of my videos, I said I always get me a nice bike, and she gets like a hand-me-down from me. So I actually went out and bought her an e-bike. And the bike I ended up buying her, which I have a review, I'll put it together when I get back from this next trip, is the Rad Rover 6 Plus Step Through. And it is an amazing bike. I rode it. The quality is top notch on it, especially for the price I paid for it. But anyway, so she actually has been riding it more by herself. She usually only ride with me, but I got her that bike, and I got her a nice bike, and she really likes it. And she said, "Oh, I'm gonna ride this more." So yeah, she really enjoys that bike. So that Rad Rover 6 is a good bike. I almost wanted to buy one myself, but I can't get rid of the Lectric XP 3.0, and the reason being is I like that bike too, and I also got a second battery for it now, so it works. Sooner or later, what I'm going to do, one upgrade, and I don't know if it's an upgrade, but one thing I am going to do to this e-bike is I'm going to switch to more of a passenger style tire, just because it's going to help with range for one, and how I ride. I don't do hard off-road riding like that. Yeah, well, I ride in a little bit of light dirt and stuff like that, sure. But beyond that, I'm not doing anything heavy with this bike like that, where I really need those type of tires, the tires that come with it. So I'm going to end up ordering passenger style tires and put on. I'm thinking about getting like white walls for it. So my plan is to keep the Lectric XP 3.0 at least one more year. That's what I'm saying. So, or until the end of 2025. That's what I'm shooting for. Does that mean I don't get another e-bike? No, absolutely not. I may get another one as well. But I have another bike I have to sell. So I have the little mini bike I take with me every once in a while, but I won't be taking it with me anymore. There's nothing wrong with that bike. It works great and everything, but it's more so I still have the other Amazon bike that I've had forever too that I use. That's like a Lectric XP 1.0 with shocks basically. That still works great. The only thing I kick myself about is when I bought this 3.0, I got the step through, and I probably should have got the regular one. I forgot the batteries are different, because the battery in the Amazon bike will fit into a regular XP, not the step throughs though, because they use a different design for the bike a little bit for the battery, so it won't fit, unfortunately. But so I'm going to keep the other bike too, especially when I'm doing like a quick trip or a trip where I don't want to take my nice bike, because it still gets like 20 miles or so, and it's a decent little e-bike too, and it's about the same size as this one. But she no longer will likely be riding it because she has a really nice bike now, so which is cool. And there's nothing wrong with the other one. I'll leave a link in the description for the ones I'm talking about. So anyway, here we are on the trail again. We're by University of Washington. Man, I could do this ride every day right here through this area. I just really enjoy this area. Tons of people on e-bikes. I'm not riding super fast either. I just don't want to be that guy blasting past people, and I just don't want to do that. You try not to be that person, and there's other people that do that are doing it, but I'm trying not to. Um, Seattle. I've talked about Seattle multiple times. I love the city. I would never live here. There's certain areas I'd like, but the problem is I'd have to live in like somewhere in Seattle that's unincorporated, that they do their own thing. I couldn't live in like Seattle proper. I could hang out here. Maybe I could have like a condo or something for a few months out of the year, because there are some cool parts of it. There's so many cool parts of it. And there's some things that make you shake your head. It's no different than Denver. When I tell you I like Denver, I do. I would never, ever in my life live in Denver, though. It's a great place to visit. And actually, anymore, I don't really visit as much. I do like the trails, but I've just found there's a lot of more amazing places in Colorado, away from a very large city like that, that have their own thing that they're doing that are just awesome. And don't have the grind. Here's Mr. Gyros. I went here and grabbed a meal. Oh, it was good. Those fries were good. And basically, that filled me up, and all I could eat later on was like an appetizer. I think I had an appetizer in the video where I was walking around. So I wasn't energized when I went to Portland. So I rode my e-scooter when I was in Portland. I'll leave a link in the description for that. And if I didn't have that e-scooter, I would have probably just hopped back in my car and kept driving. But since I had the e-scooter, because I didn't feel like pulling out the bike, it took me a second, a minute or so to yank it out and pop it open and turn it on, and I was riding. So I was so glad I brought both my e-bike and my e-scooter. That was a great decision. And it saves you money. You don't have to rent anything, and it doesn't impact your gas or anything like that, really, to be honest with you. See all the college students and everything going to wherever they go. Tons of little scooters and e-bikes you can rent. But when I was here with my family, so we rented them because I can't remember if I brought a scooter. I did bring the scooter. I brought the scooter, and I brought one of my e-bikes. So we ended up renting a couple because there was three of us. And I remember when I swiped to finish up because I was paying for all of it. It was like $60. I was like, dang. So I learned my lesson. Bring at least two. So that's what I did, and keep them in the vehicle. Just always remember, when you're in cities or areas that you think there's thefts high, keep your stuff covered. Keep you like a black cover. So if your interior is black on the inside, also try and have tinted windows. So my windows are tinted, or they're tinted on the kicks, but I also had a black cover that went over the top of my stuff. So if you looked in my car, it'd be very hard to identify. It wouldn't stick out. You couldn't say, oh, that's clearly a bike. You wouldn't know what it is, and you'd have to really look. You more likely you're just going to walk past my car and not pay attention to anything. So I keep it black on black on black. Is basically is how it works, and no problems. And I was parking where like homeless guys were right across the street from me, you know. And also, use an application called Gas Buddy. There may be others, or a cashback card. Be very mindful when you need gas. I try and make sure I get gas at the cheapest places. A lot of times before I hit a city, I'm going to try and get gas before I get into it if there's cheaper places, because if you get gas in certain areas of cities, you're getting robbed, basically, especially in cities like Seattle or any large city like that, because they like to put other taxes on there too as well, so you're going to pay more. And I don't mind paying more for certain things. Gas isn't one of them when there's 1,001 gas stations. But use Gas Buddy. It works really well, and it at least takes a few cents off per gallon wherever you're at. But it also helps find the cheapest gas in your area, because it'd suck if you get gas and it's 25 cents more a gallon just 1 mile down the road. You could have got one that was 25 cents cheaper, So, and that starts adding up after a while. But anyway, needless to say, I wasn't spending much on gas here. All my riding was on an e-bike, and I love doing that. It saves so much money. Someone had asked me, they said, why didn't you take your electric car? Luckily, I did a couple test runs with the electric car. I have a Nissan Aria, and I like it. But I'm on a mission. I don't have time to be sitting at charge stations and stuff, or trying to hunt them. And the problem with EVs is you end up starting to plan your vacations around the charging stations, or what you can do productive. Because if you don't have them done right, you're sitting in your car waiting for it to finish charge. Especially, so instead of like a gas station, I can hit it in 5 minutes and be gone, 5 minutes or less. And people try and tell you differently. Nope, I've already tested them. I already know. There's no difference. It doesn't matter what brand you go with. Tesla, Nissan, GMC, all of them. They inconvenience you when you're on a mission. Now, if you're going to be on a 2-month trip and you're taking it leisurely and all that stuff, by all means, take an EV. But if, say, you're going on a 4-day trip and you want to get there and you want to be able to see everything you want to see, an EV ain't going to get you there that fast. A gas car, you can roll and be there in a good time. So that's why I didn't take the EV, for one. And another reason is my EV's windows are not tinted. That's not the biggest deal because I have blackout curtains that make it look like they are. But that's another thing. I didn't want to hassle with that. And honestly, the Nissan Kicks is the type of vehicle you don't look at. You don't pay attention to it. It looks like 1,000 other little tiny CUVs. So I was incognito in it. So it was cool taking it. It wasn't like anything anyone's going to glance at. So it was cool taking it and parking it and having no issues with it. So that was one of the other reasons. And I was able to get up and go with no problems. You just stop and get gas and you leave. Start the car and you're gone. My Albuquerque trip I did, taking the EV added on about some hours. I should have been there, like that day, I should have been there at about 7 p.m. I ended up checking in my hotel at 1 a.m. because of inconvenience of using the electric chargers. Will it be better one day? Sure. Will range be better one day? Sure. Is it today? I don't really care. I don't have time for all that. After I'm done with my EV, my Nissan Ariya, if I don't get a hybrid plug-in type of truck or anything like that, I'm going with straight gas. It's either going to be a truck or it's going to be a very large SUV. I already decided on that. It's not an inconvenience. I'm not worried too much about gas because also I usually I'll keep a secondary car that gets good gas mileage too. It's my second car. I usually do, or something. But it's not a big deal. But as far as this road trip went, the electric e-bike did well. The e-scooter was awesome. My little e-scooter is so easy to use. You literally just turn it on, power on, and take off. And I get 10 to 12 miles. I want to say that's my average. And I wasn't going in the fast mode. I was just going in the regular, whatever the regular mode is. I wasn't in sport mode, which is like, I think 15 miles an hour or so, which was plenty. No issues. Got me everywhere I needed to be. What I think I liked about it, if it was a huge hill and I didn't want to wear out the battery trying to get up it on the scooter, I'd hop off of it and walk up it. It's good exercise anyway, and I'd walk up it. The main thing with the scooter though is I'd use it strategically because I also want to get a workout. You're not going to get a workout at all on a scooter usually. So I started learning things like on hills, get off before the hill and walk up it. Or walk for a while, set my watch, and then walk up it maybe a mile or something, just to get somewhat of a workout because you're not going to get that with a scooter or a one wheel or whatever. So yeah, we're riding. The Lectric XP did great. I also kept my wheels inflated. Don't forget to inflate your tires. My tires weren't inflated well on one of my rides when I was back in Colorado, and it cut my range big time. And I knew better, but I forgot to do your pre-maintenance before you actually hop on and ride. Check your bolts. Make sure you got decent pressure in your tires. Check everything. And on a folding bike, make sure everything is locked because you don't want the bike like folding on you while you're trying to ride. That's the scariest thing for me is what if that happened? That type of thing. So, but look at the day. Look at how green it is. Everybody's out. Good vibes. I didn't cut out any homeless people. There may have been maybe along this ride when I'm on this trail right here, maybe one or two. There's nobody that I could think about that was homeless. There was no tents. I don't believe I saw any tents or anything like that. I don't think they're going to play in this area because there's families that walk this. There's students that walk this. They don't want any problems. They don't want to make the news because of mismanagement and them allowing people to camp and, get all drugged out in this area. So here we are. We're just riding around. Look at the weather. It's clear. Can't tell you. I think the temperature is probably it was around 70 degrees. It had to be. I had a long sleeve shirt on, I'm sure, and a little bitty coat or a pullover probably in my backpack with the extra battery. So up to this point, I still haven't switched out the battery yet. I was a lot more conservative, believe it or not. So my battery has not been switched yet. I can switch the battery out because it's a folding one. I can switch it in 2 or 3 minutes. It's not that hard. It's really not, just making sure you don't let it slide out and hit the ground type of thing. But yeah, we're riding around. It's great. I'm feeling pretty good out here in this good weather. One final note as well, when I'm out here in cities or wherever I'm at, because I'll stop, I'll shop, I'll do different things like that. I carry 2 locks. I have a folding Lectric XP lock, but also I have a backup, a cheaper lock, but I always have 2 locks. Could someone break my locks and get my bike? Sure, but you're trying to make it to where it's inconvenient for them. So that's what I try and do. Anyway, this is my Seattle ride. I really enjoyed my time. I recommend you guys go check out this trail if you're in the area. Take some e-bikes, take a regular bike, walk it, whatever. It was definitely a good decision. This is Frugal Panda. I'm thankful I found this footage so I could share it with you. Bye.